I saw a pink bra under the car seat, and suddenly my entire world was about to change forever. February in Colorado has always been cruel. Bitter cold that seeps into your bones and refuses to leave. February 2023, however, brought a different kind of cold. One that froze my heart and shattered my soul. I'm sharing this as a true infidelity story because I found out my wife of 5 years was leading a double life. This shocking truth sent me into a dark place before I could heal and find myself again. My name is Ethan. I was 37 when my marriage ended. I worked as a technical consultant, which meant a lot of travel. Rebecca was 35, ambitious, and beautiful. She was climbing the corporate ladder at a marketing firm in Denver. We met 6 years earlier at a friend's barbecue. Her charm perfectly matched my rough edges. The attraction was instant and strong. I later learned that Rebecca watched her mother sacrifice everything for a failed marriage. Her mother often said,
"Never depend on anyone else for your worth or security."
This shaped Rebecca's strong drive. She often worked late into the night to perfect her presentations. Her fierce independence shone, even in our marriage. Beneath her polished exterior was a woman determined to avoid her mother's mistakes. This drive sometimes created walls that I couldn't climb. Our courtship was intense. We spent weekends on mountain trails and enjoyed deep talks and passion at night. We dreamed of a joyful future. In just 18 months, we got married. We moved into a stylish downtown apartment. We saved for a house in the suburbs and dreamed of children and growing old together. In those early years, Rebecca showed a deeper side than the polished professional everyone knew. On our third date, she took me to a small jazz club tucked away in Denver. The bartender greeted her by name, and I learned she had been taking saxophone lessons for almost a year.
"Music helps me breathe when work suffocates me,"
she said, her eyes shining with rare vulnerability as she pulled me onto the dance floor. When her father fell ill 6 months into our marriage, I saw her fierce loyalty. She took red-eye flights to Chicago every weekend for a month, even with their strained relationship.
"He might have left us, but I won't abandon him,"
she insisted. When my mother passed away, Rebecca handled everything with care. She made space for my grief while keeping our lives together. Her deep empathy made her later betrayal hard to understand. Our Sunday mornings revealed the real Rebecca. On weekdays, she was styled and ready for work. But Sundays showed a different side, hair messy, wearing my old college sweatshirt, reading poetry as we sipped coffee.
"This is who I'd be all the time if the world didn't demand so much,"
she once said, and I believed her. These moments made me feel special, like I was the only one allowed behind her careful facade. But dreams are fragile. The first signs of trouble were subtle. Small arguments grew into bitter fights. Her frustration with my travel schedule became constant. She justified her late nights as necessary for her career. Our once passionate intimacy faded to half-hearted encounters. Each night, when she rolled away from me, I stared at the ceiling, adding another rejection to my collection. During conference calls, I lost focus, wondering if my wife still wanted me.
"You're never really present, Ethan,"
she said one evening, her voice sharp.
"Even when you're home, your mind is elsewhere."
"I'm trying to build a future for us," I'd counter, but my words sounded hollow even to my own ears. Perhaps she was right. Perhaps I had failed to notice the widening chasm between us, too focused on providing the life I thought we both wanted. Then came Discovery Day. We stopped at a grocery store after work. While loading bags into her SUV, I noticed something pink under the passenger seat. I reached down and felt lace and satin. A bra. Not just any bra, but one I recognized as hers from the boutique she loved. She always said it made her feel sexy. In that moment, time slowed. My heart raced as I connected the dots. Her late nights, the distance between us, her phone always turned away, and the strange cologne scent. A sick feeling twisted in my stomach, like I was falling. Memories flooded back. Rebecca laughing as we chose that bra, her promise it was
Just for us.
and the last time she wore it for me months ago. Now it lay forgotten under the seat. Someone else had seen it. Someone else had taken it. The proof of betrayal rested in my shaking hand, but I searched for innocent excuses. Deep down, I knew the truth.
You look like you've seen a ghost.
Rebecca said when she returned, finding me frozen beside the car. The bra dangled from my fingertips. Her expression shifted. Surprise, then panic, then a calculated calm that chilled me more than any confession.
Oh, that.
She laughed, the sound brittle as thin ice.
I changed at the gym yesterday. Must have dropped it.
She snatched it from my hand, tossing it into the back seat with practiced casualness. My throat constricted, cutting off any response. That night, I lay awake beside her, my thoughts spiraling between desperate hope and crushing suspicion. The gym she mentioned was on the east side of town. Her office was west. The restaurant where she claimed to have had a client dinner was north. None of it aligned. For weeks, I moved through life like a sleepwalker. I felt torn between wanting to confront and denying the truth. I cooked fancy dinners, bought flowers, and opened expensive wine. These were desperate attempts to regain what we had lost. At social events, I often fell silent mid-sentence. I'd get distracted by how Rebecca angled her phone away, or by the unfamiliar cologne on her clothes. My hands shook when I reached for her, fearing her inevitable rejection. Rebecca reacted to my efforts with polite smiles, but stayed distant. Her phone was always in hand, the screen turned away from me. One Friday night, after making a meal that went untouched, she came out of the shower. She wore a black dress that hugged her curves, new heels, and makeup that was bolder than usual.
Just drinks with the team.
She explained, applying a deep red lipstick I hadn't seen before.
Don't wait up.
Something inside me broke, not with rage, but with a cold, calculated resolve. While she was in the bathroom, I slipped my work phone into her purse, the tracking app already activated. As she left, I forced a smile and said, "Have fun." 20 minutes later, I watched the blue dot on my screen move to a downtown hotel bar. Not the restaurant she had mentioned. For an hour, I sat in our living room, staring at that unmoving dot, each minute stretching into eternity. At 9:30 p.m., I couldn't bear it anymore. I drove downtown and parked across from the hotel, hands trembling on the steering wheel. Through the bar's window, I saw her, laughing, touching the arm of a man I recognized as her firm's creative director. As I watched, he leaned in and kissed her. Not a friendly peck, but a lover's kiss, intimate and familiar. They left together, walking hand in hand toward the elevators. My world collapsed. I don't remember driving away. I remember only the crushing pressure in my chest, the taste of bile in my throat, and the endless stream of memories, now tainted, flooding my mind. Every late night, every business trip, every rejected touch. It all made perfect, horrible sense. Somehow I found myself 60 miles away at a roadside bar called The Wayfarer. I sat, hunched over whiskey, my phone buzzing with Rebecca's texts asking where I was, each message more concerned than the last.
Rough night?
The bartender, A woman with kind eyes and graying hair set another drink before me. "You could say that," I muttered.
"Sometimes talking helps,"
said a voice beside me. A man in his 60s, weathered face and calloused hands, speaking of a life lived outdoors, slid onto the neighboring stool.
"Name's Frank."
I don't know why I told him everything. Perhaps the anonymity of a stranger or the numbing effect of the alcohol. Like so many cheating wife Reddit stories I'd read but never thought I'd live, my tale poured out. Frank listened without judgment, nodding occasionally, his eyes reflecting a wisdom born of similar pain.
"Your life's at a crossroads, son,"
he said finally.
"What happens next depends entirely on you."
"I don't even know where to go tonight," I admitted. Frank studied me for a moment, then said,
"I've got a trailer on my ranch about 15 minutes from here. Nothing fancy, but it's clean and private. You look like you could use some space to think."
That trailer would become my salvation. The next morning, I followed Frank down a winding dirt road to his property, 40 acres of rolling hills and pine trees. The trailer sat at the edge of a meadow, a modest 28-foot dwelling that reminded me of carefree summers from my youth.
"Stay as long as you need,"
Frank said, handing me the keys.
"Sometimes healing needs distance."
I returned to our apartment only when I knew Rebecca would be at work. I packed essentials, leaving most of our shared life behind. No dramatic confrontation, no explosive arguments, just a calculated withdrawal from a marriage that had become a lie. That evening, Rebecca called, panic edging her voice.
Where are you? Some of your clothes are gone. Are you okay?
"I can't do this anymore," I replied, my voice steadier than I expected.
Is this about the other night? I told you it was just drinks with co-workers.
The lie hung between us, heavy and poisonous. "I know where you were, Rebecca, and who you were with." Silence stretched across the line, followed by a trembling,
What do you mean?
"Don't," I said softly. "Just don't." 3 days later, she sent a text.
We need to talk. Please come home.
I agreed to meet her at a coffee shop, neutral territory. She arrived looking impeccable as always, but her eyes betrayed sleepless nights.
I made a mistake.
She began, voice barely audible.
A terrible mistake.
I sat motionless as she confessed to a 6-month affair with her colleague, tears streaming down her face.
It started when you were in Seattle for that 3-week project.
She explained, twisting a napkin between manicured fingers.
I felt so invisible. Like your career always came first. David noticed me. Made me feel wanted again.
As she spoke, I recalled a talk from our 2nd anniversary. We had escaped to a mountain cabin. Over wine by the crackling fire, Rebecca shared her biggest fear.
Sometimes I worry that I'm incapable of lasting happiness.
She said, her eyes reflecting the flames.
I have everything I ever wanted. The career, the relationship. But there's this restlessness inside me. It's like I'm always searching for something just out of reach.
She called it ambition back then. But now I wondered if it was a warning sign we missed. It felt like a deep hunger no success or relationship could fill. In her words, I saw a different side. A woman who had once loved me, now justifying betrayal with loneliness. I remembered the late-night calls I cut short and the weekends spent working while she sat alone. I thought about how Rebecca had shared her darkest fear, becoming her father, who left her family for a younger woman when she was 12.
I'll never be the one who leaves,
she promised on our wedding night. Yet here she was, breaking that vow to herself and to me. Maybe we both created separate stories about our failing marriage, each painting the other as the villain.
I was drowning in expectations.
she continued, eyes downcast.
The perfect wife, the rising executive, always supporting your dreams while pushing aside my own. David was an escape, a terrible choice I made because I couldn't face the real problems.
She talked about feeling lonely when I was gone. She felt unappreciated and weak during a vulnerable time. This led to a sense of ongoing betrayal.
I'll end it.
She promised.
We can fix this. Go to counseling. Start over.
I studied her face. This woman I'd loved with everything I had, and felt nothing but hollow exhaustion. I don't think I want to fix this, I said finally.
You don't mean that.
She whispered, reaching for my hand.
We have 5 years together. You can't throw that away over one mistake.
It wasn't one mistake, Rebecca. It was hundreds of choices, every lie, every time you left our bed to be with him, every moment you looked me in the eye and said, "I love you," while betraying everything that means. She kept pleading, mixing promises of change with claims that I was emotionally absent. Perhaps there was truth in that. Perhaps we had both failed our marriage in different ways. But the trust was gone, shattered beyond repair. I moved permanently into Frank's trailer the next day. The small space, barely 200 square feet, should have felt confining. Instead, it offered something I hadn't realized I'd been missing: authenticity. In our downtown apartment, we chose each piece of furniture and artwork carefully. They show an image of successful young professionals with a taste for minimalist style. None of it had felt truly mine. But this weathered trailer with its worn countertops and creaking floorboards demanded nothing. It didn't care how I appeared, only who I was. On that first night, I sat on the small deck Frank built. Stars appeared in a sky free from city lights. I felt something release inside me. It was a coil of performance anxiety I had carried for years, maybe even before I met Rebecca. Here, I could simply exist without judgment. The trailer was not an escape from life. It was a sanctuary. Here, I could find the man beneath the husband and the individual beneath the relationship. It was not an ending, but a beginning. It marked my first step to reclaim an identity I had slowly lost without realizing it. Spring arrived slowly, bringing with it tentative new growth. I worked remotely, took long hikes through the surrounding hills, and spent evenings helping Frank with ranch chores. Physical labor became my therapy, exhausting my body enough to quiet my mind. At first, I'd flinch whenever my phone rang, dreading another conversation with Rebecca. I'd avoid looking at mirrors, not wanting to face the hollowed-out man reflected back. Simple tasks, grocery shopping, paying bills, required monumental effort. I'd stand paralyzed in store aisles, unable to remember what I needed or why I was there.
Grief doesn't follow a straight line.
Frank observed one evening as we mended fences.
It doubles back, takes detours. Only way through is forward, even when it feels like you're going in circles.
Rebecca's calls and texts continued, alternating between tearful pleas and angry accusations. In April, she announced she'd hired a lawyer. "Fine," I replied, feeling a strange mix of sorrow and relief. "Make it quick and clean." The divorce was finalized by summer. I gave her most of our shared assets, wanting only freedom from the memories that haunted me. Frank refused to accept rent, insisting my help around the ranch was payment enough. Instead, I invested in renovating the trailer, transforming it from temporary shelter to true home. Gradually, my shoulders unclenched. My sleep deepened. My laugh, when it finally returned, sounded rusty but genuine. One morning, I realized I'd gone an entire day without thinking of Rebecca. The realization felt both victorious and bittersweet. the final acknowledgement that a chapter had truly closed. I met Laura in August at a farmer's market in the nearby town. She was 32, a veterinarian with an easy laugh and straightforward manner. Our conversation flowed naturally, without pretense or expectation. When she gave me her number, I hesitated. "I should warn you," I said. "I'm still figuring things out after a divorce."
I'm not asking for promises.
She replied.
Just coffee.
Coffee became dinner. Dinner became weekend hikes. Laura's presence in my life grew naturally, a gentle warmth replacing the ice that had encased my heart. She called me her mountain man, teasing me about my growing beard and flannel shirts. Laura's acceptance felt unconditional, unlike Rebecca, whose affection depended on performance. Yet I kept parts of myself guarded, afraid to risk complete vulnerability again. The trailer remained my sanctuary, a symbol of independence I wasn't ready to surrender. The first time Laura stayed overnight, I woke in a cold sweat, phantom memories of betrayal clouding my mind. She simply held me, asking no questions, offering silent understanding.
Trust is earned in drops
She told me once.
and lost in buckets. I'm patient enough to collect the drops.
In October, 7 months after Discovery Day, I encountered Rebecca unexpectedly in town. She looked thinner, shadows under her eyes speaking of sleepless nights.
Ethan,
She called, crossing the street toward me.
you look different.
I was different, stronger physically from ranch work, calmer mentally from the peace I'd found in solitude. The sight of her no longer turned my stomach or quickened my pulse. I felt only a distant sadness for what had been lost. "How are you?" I asked, surprised by my own civility.
Struggling.
She admitted.
I miss you. I made the biggest mistake of my life, and I'm paying for it every day.
She talked about therapy, ending the affair for good, and moving to another department. She spoke of regret so profound it physically hurt.
After you left, I couldn't sleep in our bed.
She confessed, wrapping her arms around herself as though cold.
I kept reaching for you in the night. That's when it hit me. What I'd thrown away for something so meaningless.
Her eyes held mine, seeking something I no longer had to give.
David was never what I wanted. He was just there when I felt you weren't. Give me another chance.
She pleaded, eyes brimming with tears.
We can start over. I'll do anything to prove I've changed.
For a moment, one dangerous, wavering moment, I considered it. The familiar pull of our history, the comfort of the known versus the uncertainty of my new path. But looking into her eyes, I realized an essential truth. Forgiveness didn't require reconciliation. "I forgive you, Rebecca," I said gently. "For my own peace, not yours. But we can't go back. That chapter is closed."
Is there someone else?
She asked, noticing the change in me. "There's me," I replied. "I found myself again. That's enough for now." As I walked away, the weight I'd carried for months lifted completely. I was no longer a victim of betrayal, but a survivor of it, stronger for having been broken, wiser for having lost my way, and found it again. Today, 18 months after that fateful February discovery, I still live in the trailer on Frank's ranch. Laura moves around my space like she belongs here. She has added her touch, a toothbrush in the bathroom, hiking boots by the door, and her veterinary journals on the coffee table. Our bond has grown through small, meaningful moments. One night, she helped me treat a sick calf. Then I taught her to chop wood in the morning. We also spent an evening quietly watching a thunderstorm roll across the meadow.
I never thought I'd fall for someone who lives in a trailer.
She joked one evening, her head resting against my shoulder. Is that a problem? I asked, suddenly anxious. She looked up at me, eyes serious.
No, it's where you found yourself again. That makes it special.
Last weekend she brought her dog, a gentle golden retriever. Now he sleeps at the foot of our bed. We're taking our time. First, we want to build a foundation of honesty. Then, we can discuss more permanent arrangements. Still, I've started sketching plans for additions to the trailer. I envision a larger bedroom, a proper office, and a covered porch facing the sunrise. Last week, I got an email from Rebecca. She accepted a job in Seattle, a fresh start in a new city. Her goodbye was kind. She acknowledged that her betrayal helped us both grow.
I wish things had been different,
She wrote.
but I'm learning to accept that sometimes broken things aren't meant to be fixed. They're meant to be transformed into something new. I hope you've found peace. I'm still searching for mine.
Perhaps someday we'll be friends, but for now, the distance serves us both. I responded with sincere wishes for her happiness, a closure that once seemed impossible. Frank, now more family than landlord, stops by regularly with homemade bread and unsolicited, but welcome advice.
You've come a long way from that broken man at the bar.
He observed recently.
Proud of you, son.
The trailer that once meant escape now stands for freedom. It's a choice to live simply, close to nature, and free from expectations. The betrayal that almost broke me became a chance to rebuild. Now I am stronger, more authentic, and ultimately happier. At 40, I've learned that life's hardest moments often teach us the most. Trust can be rebuilt, but not as it was before. It becomes more resilient, with stronger foundations and clearer boundaries. Self-respect must come first, before loving someone else. Sometimes, moving ahead means leaving behind what you thought you wanted for what you truly need. Last week, I applied to a local community college for a degree in environmental conservation. Frank's ranch connected me to the land in a way I never felt in the corporate world. Laura supports this change. She sees my excitement when I talk about sustainable land management. The future looks bright. It's not a set path, but an open field of possibilities. I might even start a small conservation consulting business to help ranchers like Frank protect their legacies. This surprising turn in my life feels less like an ending and more like a new beginning. Among the many infidelity stories out there, mine might seem like just another tale of betrayal and recovery. But I see the irony that betrayal, the thing that shattered my world, led me to a truer version of myself. Would I have found this path without that painful push? I'll never know. But I've stopped asking, why did this happen to me? Now I ask, what can I create from this? The answer unfolds a little more each day. My story has become part of these lost love chronicles that make up so many life journeys. Tales of what breaks us and how we find our way back to wholeness again. If you're listening to my story and feeling the pain of betrayal, I want to share something important. Healing isn't about revenge or big gestures. It's about quiet, thoughtful rebuilding. I learned that my worth isn't based on others' actions. It's about how I respond. So I choose to hold myself with dignity. I invest in my own growth and set clear boundaries. If my words resonated with you, share your own cheating stories or healing journey in the comments below. I believe in my inherent worth. This is how I find peace. This is how I heal. Will you join me?